that feeling when you're just up against it?
Hmm.
That moment where it feels like you're giving everything you've got, but there's just this invisible wall holding you back.
Yeah, definitely. Like something's just blocking your way.
Maybe it's a project that's hit a snag, or a personal challenge that feels huge, or just that nagging feeling. Something's stopping you. We've all been there, right?
Absolutely. Those
Okay.
moments, they feel like, well, like progress just grinds to a halt. It's a pretty fundamental part of being human, I think.
Well, in this deep dive, we're not just looking at ways to sidestep those things. We're
Right.
going to explore how you can actually use them, leverage them.
Turn them into fuel.
Exactly. Think of this as getting almost like a user's manual for life, a
Yeah.
way to approach problems with the kind of grounded calm.
Right. And maybe even find the good in them, the potential.
That's the goal, finding growth within the difficulties.
Precisely. And our exploration today, it really draws a lot from Ryan Holiday's book, The Obstacle is the Way.
Mm-hmm. Great book.
It really distills that timeless wisdom from Stoicism.
Mhm.
And it uses these amazing stories, historical figures facing just immense adversity. It gives us a really powerful framework.
So our aim is to really dig into the core of this, how we see the challenges, our perception,
Yeah.
how we choose to act when we're facing them,
Mm-hmm.
and, that inner strength, the will that lets us keep going.
The whole package.
We want to offer maybe a shortcut, a way to understand how to be more resilient, more resourceful.
Yeah. And we'll unpack some of those key Stoic ideas from the book. Use some examples, make it vivid.
Not just theory.
No, definitely not. We want this to be genuinely actionable, stuff you can actually think about, maybe apply, like, right away.
Because the big question, really the one we're wrestling with, is what if these things blocking your path? What if they aren't dead ends?
What if they are the path?
Exactly. What if they're pointing the way forward? Okay, so let's start there. That first crucial piece, how we see things, perception.
Right. The Stoics, thousands of years ago, they nailed this. How we interpret events, that totally shapes their impact on us.
It's not the event itself, necessarily.
It's our judgment about the event. The book calls it the discipline of perception. Think about John D. Rockefeller. Back in the Panic of 1857.
Right. Total financial meltdown.
Yeah, business is collapsing, people panicking everywhere. But Rockefeller,
Yeah.
he kept his cool.
He saw opportunity.
He saw opportunity where everyone else saw ruin. He stayed calm, rational.
And that wasn't just his personality. It wasn't just luck.
No, our sources suggest he actively worked on it, cultivated this ability to resist impulse, to use common sense when everyone else was, freaking out. It was learned, a discipline.
Ah, interesting.
Yeah, Rockefeller figured something out early on. The market, it's unpredictable. It's wild.
Mm-hmm.
The only way to win, long term, is with a disciplined mind. He learned to ignore the mad crowd, as he put it.
So tune out the noise.
Exactly. There's even a story early in his career, he backed out of a big investment. Everyone else was jumping in, but something just felt off to him.
Trusting his gut, but a disciplined gut.
Right. That ability to stay calm, adapt.
Mm-hmm.
They compare him to Proteus, the mythical shapeshifter. It was key to his success.
Okay, so this brings up a really key point for anyone listening. The materials we're looking at, they really stress that our reactions, frustration, fear, feeling helpless, they aren't automatic.
No, they come from how we perceive things, our interpretation.
And that's where our power lies, right? Like Marcus Aurelius said, choose not to be harmed and you won't feel harmed.
Such a powerful idea. It's about recognizing our role in shaping our own experience. We choose the response.
We choose the interpretation.
We choose the interpretation, yeah. Think about Reuben Hurricane Carter, the boxer, wrongfully imprisoned.
Terrible injustice, decades.
Yeah, just terrible. Lost his freedom, his career, but he refused to let it break his spirit.
He kept his inner freedom.
Exactly. His mind, his beliefs, his choices. Those were still his. He used the time, studied law, philosophy, history. He was determined to come out better, not just free.
Wow. That's focusing on what you can control when almost everything else is out of your control.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Which leads right into, steadying your nerves.
Yeah.
Especially when things go sideways unexpectedly.
Which they always do eventually.
Right. The book uses Ulysses S. Grant as a great example of this nerve control, this cool-headedness.
That story about the photo shoot.
Yeah. The skylight shatters, glass falling everywhere, potentially lethal. Grant doesn't even flinch. Or in battle, an enemy shell explodes right near him, kills his horse. He just stays focused. completely undistracted by the chaos.
It shows how important it is not to let external stuff or even other people trying to rattle you throw you off your game.
Because if you're trying to do anything important, you
Yeah.
will face pressure, you will face setbacks. It's inevitable. And that's where controlling your emotions is just vital. The book really hammers this. Panic leads to mistakes, bad decisions.
Like the astronaut training.
Exactly. NASA trains them specifically for that, how to stay calm in extreme high-stakes situations. John Glenn orbiting Earth, heart rate under 100.
Incredible.
That's not just physical fitness. That's deep emotional regulation. The Greeks had a word for it, apatheia.
Which doesn't mean being a robot, right? No
Well,
feelings.
No, not at all. It means the absence of irrational or extreme emotions, the kind that cloud your judgment.
Okay, so practically, when you feel that panic rising, what can you actually do?
Well, the book suggests a few things, like consciously repeating something simple. I am not going to die from this. Grounding yourself.
Right, or that Marcus Aurelius question.
Yeah, asking yourself, does what happened stop me from acting with justice, generosity, self-control, sanity? You know, the virtues.
If answer's no.
Then it hasn't really harmed your core self. It's a signal to refocus, get back to work.
Which ties into objectivity, doesn't it?
Directly.
Yeah.
The book makes this great distinction between objective observation, just the facts, this happened, and subjective perception, where we layer on our judgment. This is bad.
Miyamoto Musashi's observing eye versus the perceiving eye.
Exactly. The observing eye sees things as they are, stripped bare of our own emotional stuff, our biases.
It's hard, though. We naturally jump to conclusions, add that emotional layer.
We do. It takes conscious effort to pause, question that first reaction, and just assess the facts before letting the emotions take over.
Like giving advice to a friend.
That's a great analogy. When a friend tells you their problem, it often seems clearer, right? Because you're not emotionally tangled up in it.
Mm-hmm. You have that distance.
The goal is to try and get that same distance with your own problems.
Sure.
Practice seeing things objectively. Turn perception from an obstacle into a tool.
Okay. And building on that, there's altering your perspective.
Right. Which has two parts, according to the sources. Context of the bigger picture and framing how you personally interpret it. Change either one, and your reaction can change completely.
Like the George Clooney story, auditions.
Yeah, perfect example. Early days, lots of rejections. His first frame was, they don't see my talent. Felt like begging for a job.
Which is disempowering.
Totally. So he reframed it. He realized they had a problem. They needed the right actor. He could be the solution to their problem.
Ah, that flips it completely.
Suddenly, he's not needy. He's offering something valuable. It changes the whole dynamic, probably changed how he carried himself, his confidence.
That's a powerful shift, just by changing the frame.
Another great one is Tommy John, the pitcher.
Tommy John surgery, yeah.
Right. Faced that potentially career-ending surgery. His son had a serious accident, got cut by the Yankees later on. Huge setbacks.
But his question was always the same.
Always. Is there still a chance? Is there something I can still do? He was relentlessly focused on what was still possible, what was within his control.
That's the serenity prayer in action, isn't it? Courage to change what you can, accept what you can't.
And the wisdom to know the difference. The Stoics had their version too. Ta uka and what's up to us, what's not.
And the book lists what is up to us.
Yeah, it's a useful list.
Yeah.
Our emotions, judgments, creativity, attitude, perspective, desires, decisions, determination. That's our circle of control.
And everything else.
External events, other people's actions, luck. Mostly outside that circle, not up to us.
So focusing energy on that inner circle makes you more effective, less overwhelmed.
Exactly. Narrow the focus. Concentrate on the present action. Okay, so we've talked a lot about perception, how we see things. Now let's shift gears to the second part. Action. What we actually do.
Right, because thinking about it is one thing, but...
Action is the solution. It's the antidote to feeling stuck, paralyzed by fear or overthinking. The book is really clear on this. You got to take steps, even small ones.
Like Amelia Earhart,
Yeah.
taking that transatlantic flight offer.
Yeah, seemed like a raw deal, right? She wouldn't even be the pilot.
Just a passenger, basically.
But she got it. She understood the power of just starting, building momentum, getting the ball rolling.
She didn't wait for perfect. She saw an opening and took it.
And that first step, that action, it set the stage for everything else later. It's about that willingness to begin, even if the path isn't totally clear.
And then sticking with it. Persistence.
Oh, absolutely. Look at Grant again, taking Vicksburg during the Civil War.
That took forever, right? Lots of failed attempts.
Nearly a year. Repeated setbacks, tough terrain, strong defense. He tried different angles, kept getting pushback, but he just wouldn't quit.
Yeah.
His message was clear: I'm not going anywhere.
That cool persistence the book talks about.
Exactly. Seeing setbacks not as stop signs, but as feedback, opportunities to learn, adjust, like Edison and the light bulb filament.
Thousands of tries.
Thousands. Each failure wasn't an end. It was just information narrowing down the possibilities. That's persistence.
Which leads to iteration, right? Learning from failure.
Yeah, the Silicon Valley idea of the minimum viable product. Launch early, get feedback, improve. Failure isn't catastrophic. It's a feature. It tells you what needs fixing.
It's much more resilient than trying to be perfect from the start.
Way more. The key is not taking failure personally. See it as data. Be willing to pivot, change course. The real danger, the book says, is being so scared of failing that you just stop acting. Freeze up. Paralysis.
And to avoid getting overwhelmed by big goals, there's Coach Nick Saban's idea, the process.
Focus on the next step, not the championship.
Exactly. Don't get fixated on the huge, distant outcome. Focus on doing the immediate task right. Execute this drill, this play, this moment perfectly.
Breaking it down, like being a B through Y thinker, not just A to Z.
Right. Concentrate on the action right in front of you. Trust that doing the small things well, consistently, will get you where you need to go.
This connects to that idea of do your job, do it right, no matter what the job is.
Yeah, the book mentions Andrew Johnson, the president, being proud of his time as a tailor.
And James Garfield as a janitor. Right. It's about bringing dedication, integrity, honesty, helpfulness to whatever task is in front of you, even if it seems small.
Viktor Frankl's idea. Life asks us questions. Our actions are the answers.
Yeah. Respond well. Give your best effort, selflessly.
Okay, but sometimes the best action isn't the most obvious one, right? Not just charging straight ahead.
Definitely not. Pragmatism is key. What's right is what works. Find effective solutions, even if they're unconventional. Like Samuel Zemery outsmarting United Fruit for Land.
He didn't just rely on lawyers like they did.
No, he was more cunning, more direct in a different way. Or Washington winning battles with unexpected tactics, not always the frontal assault.
The side door strategy, indirect approach.
B.H. Liddell Hart found that most decisive military victories came from indirect approaches, not attacking the enemy's strongest point head on.
So sometimes you got to be clever, find a different way in.
And sometimes you can even use the obstacle against itself.
How does that work?
Instead of fighting its strength, you use its own momentum, its own force. Think Gandhi. Civil disobedience against the British Empire.
He didn't try to match their military power.
No way. He used their own laws, their own systems, the contradictions in their position against them. Wow. Brilliant jujitsu, really.
So the harder they push back using their usual methods,
the more they could lose balance, look unreasonable. You turn their strength into a weakness.
Fascinating. And finally, under action, channeling your energy.
Crucial. Don't let frustration or anger paralyze you. Harness it. Turn it into fuel for focused action, like Arthur Ashe on the tennis court.
Calm exterior, explosive power.
Right. Or Joe Louis, the ring robot. Channeled intensity into precision and strategy.
So take those negative emotions or even limitations imposed on you and find a way to make them work for you.
Yeah, like damming water. The energy isn't lost. It's contained, directed, becomes powerful. Okay. Perception, action. Now the third leg of the stool, will. Inner strength.
And the book starts this section kind of counterintuitively. Prepare for none of it to work.
Yeah. Sounds pessimistic, but it's not. It's about negative visualization. Thinking through what could go wrong so you're ready for it.
Managing expectations.
Exactly. And it redefines willpower. Not just bluster and ambition, but quiet humility, resilience, flexibility. Real strengths.
Like Abraham Lincoln.
A prime example. Most people don't realize how much he struggled with severe depression his whole life.
But that struggle shaped him.
Profoundly. His own severe experience, he called it, gave him incredible patience, magnanimity during the Civil War. He understood suffering. He knew this too shall pass.
He built that inner fortress.
Yeah. Paradoxically, his own hardship became a source of strength, empathy, and resolve for the whole nation.
So how do we build that fortress proactively, the pre-mortem?
Right. Before you start something big, ask, what can mess this up? Imagine it failing. Why did it fail?
So you can anticipate problems, make backup plans.
Exactly. It softens the blow if things do go wrong, because you've already considered it. Plans rarely go exactly as expected, right?
Okay.
So having contingencies, realistic expectations, it's vital for resilience.
Okay. And then there's amor fati, loving your fate.
Loving it all, the good, the bad, the ugly. embracing whatever happens, like Edison watching his lab burn down.
Instead of despair, he saw a spectacle, an opportunity.
Yeah. Get your kids. They'll never see a fire like this again.
Yeah.
Then immediately started thinking about rebuilding. Or Jack Johnson, the boxer, feeding off the crowd's hate.
Using it as fuel.
It's about finding the good, somehow, in every situation, even if it's just the lesson learned. Reframing it from something you have to endure to something you get to face.
And perseverance. That's different from just persistence.
Yeah, persistence is sticking with a task. Perseverance is enduring long-term trials without breaking. Think Odysseus.
10 years fighting the Trojan War, then 10 more years trying to get home.
Constant, brutal obstacles. Monsters, shipwrecks, gods messing with him. But he never gave up that goal. Get home. Indomitable will, never yielding.
That Tennyson quote comes to mind. To strive, to seek, to find, and not to yield.
Perfect. And sometimes what gets you through is focusing on something bigger than yourself.
Like James Stockdale in the POW camp.
Incredible story. Years of torture, isolation, what kept him going. His commitment to his fellow prisoners, to resisting, to leading them.
Focusing outward reduces your own fear.
It does. When you're serving a cause, helping others, your own problems seem smaller. Shared purpose builds strength. Giving up feels selfish. Henry Rollins called it having a moral and civic backbone.
A sense of duty.
And finally, the Stoics really emphasized meditating on your mortality.
Memento mori.
Remember you must die. Sounds grim.
It can, but the purpose isn't morbid. It's clarifying. Montaigne's near-death experience changed everything for him.
Made him appreciate life more. Focus on what matters.
Exactly. Thinking about death puts trivial worries in perspective. It creates urgency, makes you value the present moment. Don't sweat the small stuff, because it's all small stuff in the grand scheme.
So life is just this continuous process of facing obstacles.
Pretty much. Like fire needing fuel to burn brighter. We should almost welcome challenges as opportunities to learn, adapt, grow stronger. Prepare to start again.
Like Marcus Aurelius with that rebellion, the Vidius Cassius.
Yeah, instead of just crushing him vengefully, he focused on forgiveness, finding the right way to handle even a civil war. Always learning, adapting, ready for the next thing.
Okay, so wrapping this all up, the core idea, the big takeaway from this deep dive.
The obstacle is the way, if you approach it right.
Master your perception, choose your actions wisely, build that inner will.
And you have the tools. You can turn those challenges, those roadblocks, into stepping stones, opportunities for growth, for triumph.
In doing that, you're kind of joining the ranks of these historical figures we talked about. Marcus Aurelius, Washington, Stockdale.
Yeah, they weren't just philosophers in robes, they were doers. They applied this stuff to real life, hard lives. Philosophy is a practical tool.
Vires acquired in nuno. We gather strength as we go.
Love that. It's a process, right? Mastery isn't instant. It's continuous learning, practice, getting stronger along the way.
So the call to action for everyone listening.
Start practicing. Reflect on your perceptions. Are they objective? Are they helpful? Choose your actions deliberately. Work on that inner resilience that will...
See your own challenges differently.
Yeah, see them as chances to get better, more resourceful, more resilient, wiser.
Okay, and a final thought to leave people with.
Well, think about the biggest thing you're facing right now, your biggest obstacle. What if you truly, genuinely saw it not as a problem, but as the opportunity? The specific opportunity you need right now for profound growth. How would that change how you approach it? How might it change the outcome?
Thank you for joining us at Wisdom House, where we bring you timeless insights from the greatest books. If you found this deep dive valuable, don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe to Wisdom House. Stay curious, stay inspired, and we'll see you in the next video.